Do we ever realize how much of modern life is spent watching? Not even in a negative way, per se, right? Just watching. Watching creators we love, watching athletes we support and we look up to, watching entrepreneurs achieve success in their own rights, whether we like them or dislike them as people or as their perceived selves. Watching musicians perform, some of our favorite musicians of all time, perform and do all these great things and achieve all these great things and put on a great show. Watching relationships blossom, from people we look up to, from our friends, people we are around, watching people become things that whether they've told you before that they become it, and you feel like a proud friend or proud family member or proud relative watching this person become something good, or sadness watch them become something not so good, right? And one day, while I was thinking about this, I had a slightly uncomfortable realization. I knew more about people on the internet than I knew about my own future. I was one of those people who would watch live streams. I consume a bunch of content, all these things. And I knew their story. I knew what new news is coming out. I knew about this unreleased song. I knew about all these things about these particular. I knew their birthday. You know what I'm saying? Even not even on purpose. Like I just knew their date, when they were born. You know what I'm saying? Like their birthday. I knew their schedules for when they were posting videos or anything, their relationships, their business, their routines, their goals. And meanwhile, there were areas of my life where I wasn't actively building. And that realization hit me like a truck. I was like, oh shit. Because I don't think we were meant to be spectators, right? I don't think this because people are lazy. I think it's because observation gives us many of the emotional rewards of participation. I was reading a book, Psycho-Cybernetics, right? And the preface, I'm currently at the preface reading chapter 1. But so far, one of the biggest insights I've learned already, and the book barely even started for me, is the subconscious can't understand the perceived versus the actuality. What is thought in your head or what is felt in your heart, what do you think, what you dream, what you imagine, versus what is happening in reality. And another thing that it says is through that, people who seemingly have not had positive lives have become very positive people. But it also does the opposite. Observation gives us many of the reward factors and brainwave and waves of participation and achievement that you can also get from participating in reality, right? Or achieving it yourself. Playboy Max, I saw an interview by him. Shout out Max, bro. I saw an interview by him and he said quote, it's something about, it feels like the chat won with me. And I sat there, I was like, yeah, that's kind of crazy. You feels like the chat won with you? You know what I'm saying? But you really were the one who won or did something in the end. So it makes me think, it's like, yo, y'all aren't winning too. Y'all just witnessing him win. It's just the reframing of it, restructuring of it. That's parasocialism. And that's dangerous because you watch somebody get fit, your brain feels involved. You watch somebody build a business. Do you know how many people watch how I built $1 billion business, or how I built this, or how I made this much money per month in 24 months and all these things, and they think that they themselves achieved it as well, like the feelings of dopamine? That is crazy, and that is not something you want to participate in. You watch somebody become successful, your brain feels involved because you saw their whole journey and come up. It's like seeing an underground artist become a mainstream artist. You saw them from the beginning to now. That's how I felt when I saw we can go all the way, even though I was 9, all the way back to Cardi and Uzi, bro. I saw these niggas come up, bro. I saw them on the come up. Even more recent, I saw Sofago, Yeet. I saw all these new people. I saw their come up. I saw their rise, and I felt like a part of that because I supported them from when they were small. But involvement and participation are not the same thing. Watching a marathon is not running one. Watching somebody falling in love is not the same as building a relationship, because we tend to confuse this perfect relationship versus what a relationship truly is. Even if I have truly haven't been in one yet, I still know that there are, and this doesn't even have to be a loving like relationship between two partners. It could be just in general. A relationship has ups and downs. People don't understand this. They only think of the perfect, the ups, when there are downs too. A true relationship and where true marriage and things come from is, are you willing to put up with the downs and the ups? That is true. That is a true relationship. Is being true to that person regardless of the ups and downs, to an extent. Now, don't, get abused or anything, right? But hanging by them through the ups and downs, even if it feels like you're hanging by a thread. Through sickness and in health, through fitness and obesity. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. The cues, man. Watching a creator building an audience is not creating. Watching someone build and come from nothing isn't the same as you achieving a similar achievement. And because our brains aren't stupid, they confuse the two, which is my earlier cybernetics point, which is the brain, the subconscious, cannot perceive what you think of, what's your imagination and reality, or what you see versus what is actually happening, or what you think of and what is actually happening. I could speak on this because I lived it. I spent years studying people, artists, entrepreneurs, thinkers, creators, and don't get me wrong, a lot of that studying helped me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I studied like Uzi, I studied Kanye, I studied Michael Jackson, I studied the greats. I've studied this shit. This is what I do. I love studying because it helps me to be a better me. I study these things. I'm beginning to study theology. I don't even got to get into it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not here to prove nothing. I'm just here to try and help as best as I can, right? But I've learned lessons that have changed my life. But eventually I realized something. The studying wasn't supposed to replace the living. It was supposed to support it. The thing is, a lot of us live in this thing where we think knowledge is power. And while knowledge is indeed power, I think we forget that experiencing also is power, because it allows us to have the actual reality of the situation, so we can have a place of where we need to go from there, right? We have this knowledge and say we know how to build a $3 million business, but we haven't taken the experience, we haven't lived the experiences and knowledges necessary to build our own $3 million business, because what may have been good for somebody else may not be what works for you, right? So we have to experience so we know what we need to do in order to achieve in our own right, the next step, right? It wasn't meant to only study creators. I was supposed to create. I wasn't meant to only study confidence. I was supposed to interact with people and build the confidence for myself. Part of life not only is knowledge and wisdom, it's experience. Because without experience, knowledge and wisdom is useless. It means nothing. Because you can have superior knowledge and inferior results. I wasn't meant to only study fitness. I was supposed to train. If I was to take myself back to when I was at my biggest, 272 pounds to be exact, and I was to, instead of put in the effort myself, I just continue to watch fitness YouTubers and say, yeah, I'm definitely going to get here one day. Do you think I would have gotten here one day? Real question. And we all know the answer to that, right? Bingo. I wasn't meant to only study life. I was supposed to participate in it. We are not participating in life. A lot of us are participating in other people's lives. We're not participating in our own lives, and that's sad. It kind of sucks. This is where it gets interesting, because I don't even think most people realize they're truly doing it. You know, we can become emotionally invested in someone else's journey. This is where Twitch flies through. You know, this is where artists have their parasocial fans who think that they know them because they know these things about them that the artists themselves even release to the public But through leaks and all these things, people being really into people's personal lives. You know what I'm saying? It's not good. We can become emotionally invested in these people's stories, the creator's journey, a athlete's journey, a celebrity's journey, a streamer's journey, to the point where we experience their victories more intensely than our own. And that's crazy if you really sit there and think about that. If you ponder and think about it. We could celebrate these people's wins more intensely than our own wins. And we feel like we're achieving that in our own. So we don't feel the need to achieve our own things. That's crazy. We know every update in their story, but we haven't made any progress in ours. And look, I'm not judging. I've done it. You know what I'm saying? I keep telling you, I still catch myself doing it. I could still move like, what's happening in this person's life? This new thing happened with Playboy Cardi. This new thing happened about Kanye West. Platboy Max just met thing. I feel like I'm at the... I still experience... Don't get it twisted. I'm not perfect. The difference is I asked myself a question. A question that became one of the questions that I use to this day to help me stay back on focus on what I'm supposed to be doing. This video almost didn't come out today. Why? Because I was being what I'm talking to you about today. And the question is, am I participating or observing? Sheesh, right? Am I participating or observing? There's a difference between observation and participation. An observer can only do so much. They can only think they know the answer based on other people, what they've seen of other people, when they don't know what would happen in their own experience, right? Participation gives you answers from your own experiences. This is why it's a dangerous question of am I participating or observing? Because suddenly it goes from scrolling feels different. Watching videos feels different. Learning feels different. You start asking, am I learning this to build something, or am I learning this to avoid building something? Am I watching this because it helps me or because it's easier than participating? Am I listening to this or watching this relationship because I'm afraid of building my own? You see? True participation isn't glamorous. That's another lie. We like to sell ourselves this perfect knight's journey of everything's gonna be perfect. We're gonna have this one big moment, and all of a sudden, bang, everything changes. Kazam, shablang, bow, right? Bow, Picasso, boom, everything changes. No, that's not how that works. People think participation means starting a company and going viral, becoming famous, changing the world like this. And no, it is not. Participation is smaller than that. Participation is the daily things. Participation is recording the video, making that call, posting the content for that day, going to the gym, introducing yourself to people, asking the right questions, asking the necessary questions, taking the walk, reading the book, making the offer. It's boring, but it's what gets the result that you want. Most creators that I've watched say the same thing that I've just said, but it only took me to experience life on my own to realize that myself. The boring reps are what makes the man or the woman, right? Or whatever you identify as. It's boring until it compounds. And then 3 months later, when people think, oh my God, you made a big drastic change, when you truly know that it was complete, continuous daily reps. Because really and truly, when we're not focused on the days, time goes by fast, bro. And so those 3 months really do go by fast. And people are like, oh, you made a crazy change, when really you were just so focused on finishing the day at hand that the reps added up and the compounding began like a 401k. And the results the results showed externally. It's all inside first. It's all internal first. It's all subconscious. It's all mental. Life is mental. Life is a mental game. One thing I'm realizing, we need to start joy maxing. This summer, I don't want to spend my life watching. I'm joy maxing. I'm life maxing, bro. I don't want to spend all my energy participating in someone else's movie. I want to participate in my own, not perfectly, not constantly, not obsessively, not none of that, but intentionally. I want memories, stories, experiences, failures. I want to tell my kids the story of how I lost in this thing. I want to tell my kids the story of how this happened, how I even came to be, how I met your mother. You know what I'm saying? Wins, growth. Because at the end of the day, that's what creates a true life. In the same book, Psycho-Cybernetics, there is a quote where he says, where he discusses about two things. There's one, being a success and being a successful person. Being a success is material things. Having all the material things, but nothing truly to show for it on the internal or anything like that. While being a successful person may bring you those material things, but also fulfillment, joy, and all these other things, right? That is where you want to be. You want to become a successful person, not a successful person. Because at the end of the day, that's what life is all about. Not observation, participation. So to end this off, right? Maybe the question isn't what should I do with my life? Maybe the question is simpler. Maybe the question is, am I participating or observing? Because I think a lot of us already know the answer. I think a lot of us already know what we need to do. We're just standing on the sidelines watching, hoping and thinking, one day everything's gonna go right. Well, no, you need to change your mindset and say, today is the day where everything begins to change. And if you're anything like how I am currently, maybe it's just time to step onto that field and make your first goal. I love y'all. Peace.